For today's CarGurus UK video, we thought we'd try something a bit different and make a video about modern classics, specifically our modern classics. So I brought along my 996 and Vicky has brought along her Mercedes SL. As Vicky said when I pitched this idea, so it's pretty much like a nice day out with a cameraman.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. So
what's not to like?
Here we are.
But this is my 1992 Mercedes SL. If you're into your Mercedes codes, then it's the R129. Oh yes. More specifically, it is the 300 SL 24 valve. So that's an inline 3-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol. It's quite a rare car because they only made this engine for about 3 years. As you can see, it's red, or it's kind of supposed to be red. It's definitely going quite pink around the side mirrors. And I'm afraid the paintwork is in a frankly embarrassing state. New wheels, that's happened recently. So yeah, I've got the new original Mercedes 8-hole alloys on it, which I'm really pleased with. Can you imagine an SL today on 16-inch wheels?
I know, but I bet it rides nicely as a result.
So nice, yeah. I have to say it's driving really nicely at the moment. Tell me about your 911.
Okay, so 996 generation. It's a 2004 Carrera 2, so rear-wheel drive, manual, pretty standard in terms of spec, nothing fancy on it, but it's just my dream car, to be honest.
I think the 996s, I know they've kind of got a bit of a reputation for basically being the affordable 911, right? The one that people don't want, but they're really kind of affordable. Yeah. By 911
affordable
standards.
To buy.
Yeah, exactly.
First off, what are your two favourite things about about your R129?
I like the fact that I've done all the mechanic bits, so now it's reliable.
Okay.
I hate to say that's
when you say you've done it, you mean you've
I've spent the money. The mechanical stuff is really up to scratch now, so it's really lovely. It's driving so nicely. I mean, the way it drives, if I can have that all as one package thing, I love about it. It's so sweet to drive now. Okay. It's just beautiful. I love the way it looks. I think this just gets better looking by the year. You know, I mean, we laugh about the 996, but the R129 is also the poor man's Mercedes SL, right? It's the one that was affordable because they made loads of them.
Just look at it, it's great. It's such a clean design.
It's a beautiful design.
And also, like this, it's so small. I mean, back in the day it wasn't. No. Like long bonnet, but actually overall, it's a very compact
by modern day
car.
standards. Yeah, exactly. How about you? What are your two favourite things?
Well, this is going to sound repetitive, but the way it drives, I just...
That's why you buy it, isn't it, basically?
I know, well, maybe that's us as car nerds, but I bought it for the way it drives. And then I think the other thing... Oh, can I do three things?
Only if I can do a third on mine.
Okay, you can do a third on yours. So the second thing, I can take the kids. And then the third thing, I just love it.
It is a fabulous looking thing. And the wheels are looking great as well.
Yeah, wheels are cool. I like the split rims.
Yeah.
Originally I wanted the sort of 5-spoke star-shaped ones. This was what it was supplied with when it was new, and actually having had them refurbed, I think it looks really smart.
Well, I mean, talking about you being able to get the kids in the back, it's one thing I really hate about my SL specifically. If you're a terrible car bore like me, then you might know they actually did come with rear seats optionally. They were tiny, but mine doesn't have them. So I can just, so I can't get my family in the car.
If you're thinking of buying a modern classic, then, one, it doesn't hurt to find a car where there is a really good specialist support network, and I think in both examples that's the case. And two, find a really good specialist and stick with them, because the more they know your car, the more easily they can work on it, the more they can sort of recommend a plan for how to bring things up to date and things. So
and I mean, I think it does pay to just get a proper specialist to do the job properly and service it routinely, and it does in the long term kind of pay off, I think. But it is definitely something to consider if you are looking at these cars, because there's still some really tempting modern classics out there. I mean, you can even get one of these for quite not that expensive, but you have to bear in mind that you're going to have the money to keep it on the road and maintain it properly.
This is the first time I've sat in a R129.
Yeah?
Wow, that's a massive steering wheel, isn't it?
Welcome to old Mercedes.
So loving the digital dial setup.
Love these seats. Proper cushy, big armchair, tour across the continent seats. I love them.
It's very cool.
New Blaupunkt stereo, so it looks all retro, but you can plug your phone in and listen to music.
Nice. This is just all so elegant, isn't it? It's just
love it.
so simple.
The classic, simple Mercedes dials. I often think of these when I get into new cars with all the kind of like spangly digital dials, and I get that. I like that too, but I mean, you do, that's all you need, isn't it?
It's all the information you want and nothing you don't need
and
to know.
nothing you don't, yeah.
Right.
Oh, well.
Do you want to have a look at the
Yes,
support?
let's have a look at the 911.
Oh, you get that old 911 smell in this
yeah.
car. Love it.
Look
So
at
this will be the
this.
first time you sat in a 996.
Yeah, it is actually.
So what do you think? Because, well, I'm not going to say anything. What do you think?
I think it's very lovely. Again, I really like the dials. They're just awesome, aren't they? I mean, this is a bit old school, isn't it? But I mean, you expect it to be. Does what you need it to.
Not one.
Look at that!
How'd you get the other one else there?
Now that is an over-engineered
It
cup
is.
holder if
Look at
ever
that.
I saw one.
I think the
More
996
engineering
was-
went into that than goes into most modern cars.
Exactly, yeah. I think this was the start of the era where Porsche really started to think about cup holders a lot.
It's quite sort of compact, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
quite
And see what I mean about the visibility. Like, look at the glass behind you.
You can actually see out of it, and a rear windscreen wiper.
And a rear windscreen wiper, yeah.
And a sunroof.
And a sunroof, which works, yeah.
Fabulous.
And I said it didn't have many options. The one option that the original buyer did specify was this, which is the switchable sports exhaust.
Oh,
which
nice.
is a blessing and a curse because it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But it's also going to need replacing at some point. And then it's, do I stick with a factory sports exhaust for, I think, about £1,500, or do I put an aftermarket system that's not switchable on for about £500?
It's really cool. It just feels so sort of well put together, doesn't it? It's
Well,
lovely.
yeah, you wait till you drive it and you hear all the squeaks and rattles. But yeah.
Well,
Speaking of which,
yeah.
shall we go for a spin?
Yeah, let's
Cool.
do it. It's good, isn't it? It's a 911.
It is good.
It's so good.
So these are 320 horsepower,
Yeah.
which nowadays you're like,
I was about to say, it's not slow either, is it?
it's just the throttle response and stuff.
It just feels so light as well.
Yeah, I think these are about 1,400 kilos.
Yeah, they're
Which is
really
nothing
light.
like
No,
today's
exactly,
standards.
yeah. And your aircon works. It's more than mine does.
Well, that's because I spent £800 on the new bit.
Oh, the pedals are really nicely placed as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's got that thing of everything just feels in real harmony, I think, of all the control weights and stuff.
You're not really going to find a car at this price that's better than this on, for a lovely drive, and that's also really easy to live with.
Yeah, E46 M3 is the only thing that I'm sometimes, I think.
Actually, yeah, to be fair, that's a good shout. But it's going to be very different. It's a different kind of, it's a more aggressive feeling car, isn't it? I think probably
is.
the E46.
Yeah, it is.
The M3. It sounds great as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's going to cost you a lot to get this, to get the factory replacement if you need to. But it's lovely.
And you can do distance in it. That's the other thing about this, is you would quite happily do a couple of 100 miles in it, and it's just nice. And well, I'm sure your car's the same. It's just, it can do the GT thing, but then it's also good fun when when you want it to be.
Having said that, I would never sell the SL. I mean, if this is sort of I don't know what my car's worth, I really don't. But if it were anything close to this, I would have to possibly think about it. Especially because I could get my whole family in this car.
Maybe we should swap.
Maybe we should.
There is this, obviously this idea that you buy cars like this and they just skyrocket in value, and you get the joy of owning a car and watching it go up in value, which might be true in some cases. I don't think 996s are quite doing that. I think R129s might be, but what it ignores is the maintenance that you'd spend. So, if I had bought something much newer, then I would not have such high running costs. So I said in the last video we did, actually, I've had the car for 3 years, and I added up all the bits I've had done on it, some of which were cosmetic, so the wheels and bits and pieces. Some was just wear and tear, such as tyres, the aircon fix and stuff like that. But I spent £7,000 on it in 3 years, which is quite sobering, has to be said.
Yeah.
And it's come back from its service saying front dampers could be really needed doing, so that's probably another 1,500 quid there. So, I think the car's probably worth today what I paid for it, but it doesn't obviously factor in. So I think, I suppose the way I look at it is it's not depreciating. So I'm not paying the cost of having a car that is just losing value by the nature of getting older, but it's by no means something that you spend your money on and then it shoots up in value.
That is some excellent man maths that you've just done there, by the way.
That was pretty much the speech I gave to my wife.
Fantastic justification. Well done. I like that. Yeah, no, that is the problem with modern classics though, isn't it? Is that you always have to factor in how much they're going to cost to just keep on the road and maintain them. And it's always the, you know, that's the flip side. A lot of them are great value to buy, but then can you afford to actually keep them in good order on the road? I mean, I've had the Merc since 2017, but I think I've spent over £9,000 on mechanical repairs, and also, I mean, the Mercedes is old enough now that it's just literally, you know, wearable parts they're just worn out. Yeah. There's a lot of of just replacing seals and pipes and things and bushes, and lots of stuff is just getting old. Those perishables. So that's expensive. So it's always the thing to consider. Whether you can afford to buy it is one thing. Running it is a whole other kettle of fish, and it is quite painful. And I don't know about you. I mean, like I said, I do trust the Mercedes. I really do. I would happily do very long journeys in it. But there is always a little part of you that's kind of just listening for that noise, kind of just waiting for something to go wrong.
When I get back from a long journey in it, I do always go, well done.
Well done. I know, yeah, exactly. I'm the same with the Mercedes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
All right. So it's a straight six.
Straight six, 3 litre, 24 valve.
How much power?
Just over 200, so not a lot.
But not nothing.
Not nothing. So I mean, it's not terribly fast, really, by the standards of such things. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Life feels good. Look at this, the sun's shining. Driving a drop top SL. Oh man. It rides nicely, doesn't it?
It's beautiful, yeah. Mercedes did really know how to make a car ride back in the day. It was just fabulous.
Yeah, it feels really special actually.
Yeah.
It's not as I don't know, in my head I thought it would be really sort of wallowy and like really vague steering. The steering's actually quite direct, isn't it?
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. It's quite. I think that's one of the things about the SLs is because they're so well known for being this generation, for being quite sort of great tourers. It's what the SL's always been. People, I don't think, give them the credit. This one, I mean, it handles really nicely. I will say, since I've changed the tyres, I think it's lost a little bit of an edge on turning. Because it's got big squashy tyres now, so that kind of changes it a bit, of course. But I mean, I'll take that for the improvement in ride. This is what the car was always intended to be like.
Yeah. How much does it weigh? Do you know?
I don't know. A lot.
Well, I mean, a lot.
I think it's about 18 or 1900.
Yeah, which, you know.
And I mean, the hard top, when you've got the hard top on this, and they all came with a hard top, it's a two-man job. I mean, it weighs an absolute. It's so heavy. So it's probably an extra. It's probably an extra 100 kilos or something when you put a hard top on it. So yeah, it's.
Do you have the hard top on in winter? Or
I do. Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a nice noise, isn't it?
It does make a nice noise.
Yeah.
So this is the 4-speed auto, which was standard. They did do an optional 5-speed, which I would love to have a go in a car with one of those one day. Which obviously I imagine would also be a tad more efficient, because the problem is this is doing like well over 3,000 RPM on the motorway.
Yeah.
And the gearbox, when it's cold, is really quite clunky. It takes a little bit to warm up. It's quite reluctant to change gear first thing in the morning, so it's kind of.
Have that in my car. It's very hard to get into first on a cold morning.
Yeah.
But then once it's warmed up, that's one of the things I like about it.
But yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? They're mechanical beasts, and that's something that we don't get very often in modern cars. Electric powered or otherwise, any modern car, you don't get that sense of, it's a machine made of oily bits and wiring, and and that's the joy of it. And also, again, that low level anxiety of something going horribly wrong any second now kind of thing.
This feels superbly engineered.
Yeah.
I have to say. It feels absolutely. It's so solid, isn't it?
I mean, it's a cliche, isn't it? But as they say, it's the last of the truly over-engineered Mercedes.
Yeah. The idea of a modern classic is they're so easy that you really can not just use them daily, but you can just drive them like you would drive a modern car, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're sort of modern enough that they're not a huge amount of hassle, and yet they're old enough that they're intriguing and different to any kind of modern car. So it's that sort of happy medium that you're looking for, isn't it?
So I think it's fair to say that we are both quite fond of our cars.
Yes.
I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't sometimes think of selling it and getting something else. I'm interested. Are you the same? Do you have times where you think, oh, maybe I should chop it in and get something different? And if so, what would you get?
The one that I just am obsessed with is the Alpine A110, which of course is quite a modern car. It's still in production now, but I've always been obsessed ever since I drove it on the launch, and it is a life's ambition of mine to own one day. And so if it gets to a point where this is worth the same as a used Alpine A110, I might have to seriously think about what I want to do.
That's
a
modern that's definitely going to be a classic.
It will be a classic one day, yeah.
Yeah, they are awesome.
I am alarmingly attached to this car now. I do love it.
So I think we should come to some kind of conclusion, which I think we should be balanced, because I think we're very enthusiastic about our modern classics, and I think we need some perspective. So obviously we've spent thousands each maintaining these, and I think that's a big factor with modern classics, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
They not always, but they're generally going to cost more than a newer car to keep on the road. Fuel economy in this?
Oh, terrible. I try not to think about it, to be honest. I think low 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put £100 in it and get about 300 miles back, so
yes.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not great.
Same, that's 20 to 25. Do 30 on a run, but yeah, you spend a lot on fuel. And of course, super unleaded in that, presumably.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. You've got to use E5, yeah. So even more expensive. So that's the thing, isn't it? There are so many great modern classics out there. I mean, we've already talked about the E46. I mean, never mind the M3. You can get some lovely E46s. We actually own one of those as well, by the way. But enough of that.
Vicky, you should start a modern classic dealership, basically, couldn't you?
So yeah, BMW E46. Mark 1 Audi TT, there's some fabulous options out there.
There are.
Some of the old Jags, they don't cost much and they're really interesting. So there are some really, really cool cars out there. You don't need a huge budget to buy them, but you have always got to think about keeping them on the road, because it's not, and it's, how long is a piece of string? You don't know how lucky you're going to get.
Yeah.
So I do think, having said that I did buy this against all the sort of probably best practice, it is worth probably getting a car that's got decent history and that you kind of, ideally buy it either from a well-respected dealer or from somebody who's obviously loved the car. That does make a big difference.
Yeah, and obviously check things like insurance, check the tax, because actually insurance on mine it's cheaper than our family car, I think, because we do a low mileage in it and everything else.
Yeah,
it's actually very reasonable, but definitely look into that. Owners groups, forums, these things are all your
always
friends.
Join the owners club before you buy anything and talk to them, and it's like it's such a great resource.
Yes. So at CarGurus we have a guide to the top 50 modern classics that we're outlining today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pop a link up in the cards and in the description, and as ever you can head to cargurus.co.uk to search for loads of used cars, modern classics, newer used cars as well, and head to our sister website pistonheads.com, where they've got tons of used cars and modern classics for sale.
It's dangerous, Pistonheads.
Dangerous place. It is a dangerous place. And why not also let us know in the comments your favourite modern classics, or any modern classics that you do own or have owned in the past. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you next time.